Okay.
Good morning, people. Good morning, everyone who's here as we begin.
Greetings, beloveds. Greetings, everybody. My name is Nelly Nkosi for Ikhambi Natural Healing. I am here to discuss, we are here to discuss the shadow self. I am joined by the beautiful and most lovely Joy. She will introduce herself.
Thank you for having me back, Nelly. Nelly. I'm so excited for this conversation. Yeah.
I'm gonna mute the people that are just, no, I've muted. Yeah. When you join, please mute yourself just to eliminate background noise and we're able to hear our guest properly. So I'm gonna ask Menzi to lead us in the, in the breathing meditation, and then we get started on this thing. Menzi. Is he there?
Greetings everyone. I will rather not show myself today, but only my voice. As we all know, our breathing meditation is quite simple, doesn't involve you to exert a lot of effort, but the main priority is for you to keep your mind, have your mind as peaceful as possible, so that you can be receptive to the messages that are being transmitted. And that's all it is. It's a preparation for us to be submissive to the ancestors, submissive to the Creator God, the Godmother, the Godfather, and that's it. So I would like to ask anyone, whether you are sitting or standing, just relax your mind, relax your shoulders, close your eyes so you can focus on only your breath. And we take a deep breath in and hold it. And we release it. Be conscious of the meaning of your breath and take another deep breath in, gently. And let go. In your shoulders, let go. And then as we take another third breath in, we take it in. And we ask the Creator gods, we ask the Almighty, we ask our ancestors to be present. And we breathe out, releasing all tension, releasing all stresses, and allowing ourselves to be present in this time, allowing Mother Nature and the fathers to be present with us, and let the messages that are transmitted here be true, and let us all be receptive, and let us enjoy ourselves, and let us learn and unlearn together. When you breathe in one more time, fill your chest with that life-giving force. Let it come from the bottom and from the top. And then let go. Ashe, Ashe, Ashe.
Ashe.
Welcome, everyone.
I'm going to ask everybody, those who are new to our lives, we normally do a pledge so that we remind ourselves why we are here and we don't forget why we are here. And we also approach each other with a bit of kindness as well. So we usually recite the healer's pledge. We are all healers and we heal in different ways. And you don't have to be a Sangoma to be a healer. You don't have to be a doctor to be a healer, and we all heal in our own spaces differently. So the healer's pledge, just give me a second so that I can pull it up. Yes. Singabelaphi. So I'm going to ask everybody to unmute so that you are able to see the pledge, to recite the pledge with us. So the pledge is, so I will recite and you will repeat after if you are unable to see. Okay. This is the code of conduct for the group, Natural Healing Ikhambi. Singabelaphi, we are healers.
We are healers.
We owe our gifts to nature, our ancestors, and our creator.
We owe our gifts to nature, our ancestors, and our creators.
We live by the principles of Ma'at, Unu, and Ubuntu.
We live by the principle of Ma'at, Unu, and Ubuntu.
We will approach each other with respect, honesty, and compassion.
We will approach each other with respect, honesty, and compassion.
We will offer our advice, recommendation, and ideas.
We will offer our advice,
recommendations, and ideas with trust.
We will neither insult, dishonor, nor abuse one another.
We will neither insult, dishonor, nor abuse one another.
We will share, practice, promote, and raise awareness about natural healing, healthy lifestyles, and well-being.
We will share, practice, promote, and raise awareness about natural healing, healthy lifestyles, and well-being.
We will refrain from posting negative information.
We will refrain from posting negative information.
We will refrain from posting irrelevant information and falsehoods.
We will refrain from posting irrelevant information and falsehoods.
Singabelaphi, we are healers.
Singabelaphi, we are healers.
Our gifts are a gift to humanity and nature.
Our
gifts are a gift to humanity and nature.
We will give back to nature what it has abundantly given to us.
We will give back to nature what it has abundantly given to us.
So much. I will allow, I'm going to allow for us to be able to hear Joy properly, our beloved sister. I'm going to ask everybody to put their mics on mute so that we are able to hear Joy properly. Please introduce yourself, sister.
Yo, okay, where do I start?
The joy that I know. Can I borrow your headsets, please?
Oh, got a little distracted. Yes, so my name is Xaba Joy MOGAMI, and I am an ancestral guide, an oracle, and I work with what I call genetic path cutters. I didn't come up with the word, but it's just the best way to describe the type of people I work with, which are people who are feeling called to heal themselves and to heal their ancestral DNA to create a new pathway for that lineage and a new pathway for the entire collective human race. So I'm very passionate about self-sourced healing, where you are at the center of sourcing your own healing, directing your own healing, of course, in alignment with our ancestors, our luminous ancestors, as well as our Holy Mother, Holy Father God. So my work is influenced by African spirituality and my academic training in psychology. So there's a lot of psycho-spiritual guidance with the teachings that I share. Yes, that's it.
So Joy is from Botswana, and she really downplays herself when she introduces herself. She does a lot of amazing work. She runs an institute back at home in Botswana where she helps people self-heal. And I think it's amazing because we always look at other people to heal us, but then at the same time, we also have the ability to heal ourselves, you know, and that for me plays like it's so profound in terms of the work that she does. So today's topic, we are in the season of Uset Reda, and within the season of Uset, so the theme that we have chosen as Ikhambi is the shadow self, confronting the shadow self. When we speak of shadow self, Gogo, what comes to your mind?
Such a broad topic. This is why you guys are doing it for the whole month. But the shadow self, I like to get a little technical and go into the mechanics, or so that we can see what the shadow self is. But when a person is born into our planet, they pass through what we call the collective field, which is holding the memories of those who have existed in the planet.
Mm-hmm.
And when you are passing through that during the 9 months in your mother's womb, you are receiving information about the human experience, the experiences that humanity has went through, and the experiences that currently humanity has went through have been experiences that include both light, but particularly suffering, fear, control, limitation, and confusion, anxiety, all these different experiences. And at the core of these experiences is that humanity has forgotten its true origin as a divine being. And when you come to this world, you are initiated through that field to receive all the many ways in which you will experience your life as a human being, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so these things that you are receiving in the field, they are those that are what we call the gifts. And there are those that we call the shadows. At the core, it's the ways that we are in separation from our divinity and our divine parents and our divine origins. That's what the shadows are, essentially. That's how I see it.
And in terms of them manifesting in terms of behavioral gaiety, like with us, like what does it look like?
So in what we call the ego, the station of our identity, which we call the ego, right? The I, like I am this person. That ego level is actually found in the 3 centers in our root chakras, our sacral chakras, and our solar plexus. These 3 levels of the self are holding the most dense emotions that humanity has, and dense emotions that we've inherited from our ancestors. These emotions, they manifest in ways that are destructive to the self and to other people, right? And we call this ego pathologies in psychology. There have been a lot of people who have mapped these ego pathologies and mapped the shadows themselves. One of those people is Richard Rood, who says that we have 64 different types of shadows. And as a human being, you're probably here holding these shadows within yourself. They are different, you know, so at the core of it, though, I feel it is the frequency of victimization, the frequency of feeling separate from other people and feeling powerless with the conditions of life, feeling powerless with the conditions of your own lineage and the conditions of your race and the conditions of your personal life, right? So what was the question again? I feel like I lost the question.
Oh, gosh. I was saying that I just wanted to find out how this would manifest, and you were coming along. I was loving the explanation, how this would manifest in terms of behavioral in us, like how you would see like the shadow side of yourself, how this manifests in terms of behavior within yourself.
Oh, okay. Yes, I didn't. I'm sorry, I just get a little technical sometimes. Yes, okay. So it's such like the question is so broad. How does this manifest in the person? So there are four circles of our lives in which we are actually initiated into our shadows, right? So the first level is the one I spoke about, which is the first 9 months when you're in your mother's womb and you are receiving actually the collective shadow of the human race. And then from age 0 until 7 years, you are receiving another level of getting to know the self and receiving experiences that begin or initiate what will later become your shadows. So if between 0 and 7, you may experience maybe, for example, a common experience is maybe not having your father be present in your life. That creates a shadow or a core wound of abandonment. And as a child, people actually assume that children do not know this or they don't feel this, but they actually do. From 0 to 7, there is this mapping that the child is creating. And if there is a part of that experience that is traumatic, that is not holistic, not in alignment with the actual divine logos, which are that the child is supposed to be parented by the parents, both mother and father. The child knows this and feels this, and then there is that imprint of separation from the masculine, for example, or pain with regards to relationship with the masculine that is created in that first cycle. And then from 7 to 14, whatever experiences you go through also will deepen whatever pain you're experiencing in that life, in that cycle, 7 to 14. And from 14 to 21 is the time where it tends to ground really deeply, because 14 to 21 is when we're really kind of like forming our identity. You know, we're like, this is who I am this person at that age. And so by 21, it's crystallized. So during this moment of conception to 21 years, you go through different initiations of your shadows. And these initiations of your shadows are based on the traumatic experiences that you are going through as a soul. These traumatic experiences will be different with each person. Someone may, grow up without a lot of food and it's not traumatic for them, but someone, it's very traumatic that they didn't have food at home and it creates a huge imprint for them. So it's not something we can just say everyone has this, but at our core, a lot of the core shadows we are all experiencing during these levels are abandonment. It's one of our biggest one when we feel abandoned. Then rejection, wherever we feel rejected, where we are told that, our way, who we are is not acceptable. We shouldn't be that way. We shouldn't express ourselves that way. So we feel that's wounding of rejection. Betrayal is also a very big one, particularly for African people. If you betray me, I will never forgive you. That's kind of like the vibe. But with that betrayal, it can be betrayal, which is like someone betraying you, like doing something that is harmful to you. But betrayal can also be when your mother doesn't speak up for you, when your father is abusive towards you. That's mother. The mother is betraying you. She is supposed to protect you, or even the father, when he is not there, he has betrayed you, And this one is a big one that a lot of genetic path cutters, those who are like Call to Heal have is persecution. When we are being persecuted, being judged for who we are, for how we express ourselves. And this can be persecution from our family of origin or later in school and in the community. And the last one is where we feel separation. And we know particularly for African people, community and belonging to a community is so important. So if you feel like you don't belong, like you are separate from other people, you are not like other people. One of the biggest wounds people have is that, they are alone in the world, that no one really understands them, and the reason why they're alone in the world is because there's something wrong with them, so that they just go into the separation energy. And that separation, at the core, it's the separation wound. Actually, it's one that we all inherited in the womb when we were separated from our divinity, or at least we forgot that during that period. So yeah, that's it. I hope I answered you. Are you here with me? Or I've lost you?
I am here with you. I lost a bit of audio there.
Oh, okay.
Apologies. Apologies, everybody. I lost a bit of audio there for a second. You spoke a lot of things, and some of these things, they manifest mostly throughout your childhood. Would you then say that that this now brings us to the concept of the inner child?
Yes, it does. When we are in our mother, sorry, yeah, okay. You can go ahead.
Okay, because when I'm just thinking now that based on everything that you just said, we often think that we leave our childhood tendencies back there in childhood, but then we often don't know that we carry these behaviors into adulthood. Would you then say that all these things, as they manifest, we carry them through into our adulthood?
Yes, because essentially the purpose of life, returning back to what Richard Rood has done in his work in studying the DNA genetics, he has mapped that we have 64 shadows as a collective, and you are probably on average holding 11 or to 13 shadows. And these shadows, within them is where your gifts lie. And your purpose in life is to witness these shadows, to accept these shadows. And when you do, you will begin to touch and connect with the gifts that particular shadow holds. Right. So, for example, I've spoken about this one. A lot of people in my community know this one. It's my own shadow. I'll give an example with myself. So I have my life's journey is around the shadow of control, right? And this shadow of control, I will give an example of how this has formed for me. This shadow of control is I'm a firstborn daughter, not just to my mother, to my maternal family. I'm the first granddaughter. And in my paternal family, I'm like the second. And the first granddaughter is just literally 2-3 months older than me. So I'm really like, the first child. And we know what that comes with. I'm basically not really a child. I'm like one of the mothers, and because of that, because of how I was groomed and being first daughter, I had to be responsible, and I grew a little too fast for my age, always having to think about my sister and my little nieces and so on. And that created an imprint of I have to always make sure everything is okay and it's in order. And while that may sound wonderful. It's actually not, it was not supposed to be my responsibility to be responsible for my sister and all my other sisters and cousins and so on. So that shadow of control actually came from pain and actually came from navigating the family and the dynamic of the family and so on, which at some level, it wasn't 100% healthy and organic and balanced for the child that I was, right? And so the control is a defense mechanism. The child, Joy, the inner child, was overwhelmed by all those responsibilities that she had to create a structure at such an early age. And in creating that structure, you can be like, oh my God, she's such a focused person. But it's like, that's actually someone who has anxiety and they have to manage it and they're overwhelmed and they're too serious to enjoy life, right? And so that was my shadow growing up. I was always the serious girl. And then I started this work, or I became aware that this is coming from pain, not an organic and natural process. And as I started to learn that I don't always have to be in control, I don't have to mother everyone, something came out of this control. And what came out of it was this gift of authority, this gift of leadership, right? So the experience did initiate me to authority, to leadership. And then I became this person who is the author of that life. They lead that life because I learned to lead my life when I was so young, right? So that's the shadow. That's the gift of the shadow. We do not have to look at the shadow like something to destroy. It is our initiation. And it is where the gift is going to lie. And there is something beyond the gift, which is the city. And the city is the divine gift. The city is the divine logo. It is what we are all originally are. And the city of authority is the city of valor. And the city of valor is, the word valor is, at the core, is about courage and love, right? This person who is so courageous, who is able to show love. That's what the control taught me, right? It taught me to love all of my siblings and to be courageous and to fix things and so on. And if I allow myself to not be in the shadow frequency, I will rise to the Siddhic frequency, which is the highest level of being that the human is capable of. We are here to become the highest level of who we really are, to arrive to the Siddhic frequency, the highest consciousness that we really are, the divine logo. So I do not look at the shadow as like the shadows, they can never leave you. They travel with you. They are literally the reason why you're here, right? So we can't say, oh, all those childhood experiences, they didn't shape me, they don't influence me, they don't impact me today. No, they do. Everything you call I is based on the experiences of the past, your past, the past of your mother, your father, and the ancestors. That is why we do ancestral work. It's because of that past, it makes us who we are today. But we are not here to be the past. We're here to weave the past and create a new future, to create a new pathway of what's possible for us as the human race.
I found it very, very, what's this, profound in terms of how you're saying it, because I'm just remembering a conversation that I had with someone the other day, where we say it's all love and light, and we accept our gifts. Like, oh, I'm a gifted child. I've got the gift of sight. I've got the gift of whatever that you inherited from your ancestors. But we also forget that we also inherit certain traumas from other, like from our own ancestors. If maybe, let's say, your ancestor was a slave, and what you still need to heal from that traumatic experience. Maybe that's why you have trust issues. And I'm finding this so profound that we always focus on the negative aspect. However, in you having your own trust issues, you're able to almost be able to be very, very observant in terms of behavioral. It depends on how you decide to perceive life. Like, which side of the coin? Like, do you want to be a victim or do you want to be a survivor? You know, all the same thing. And for me, what I wanted us to get into is that, yes, we know that we have all these shadows. Like, how do we then move past from seeing them in the negative space? Like moving past the two sides of the coin, depending on how you decide to view things. How do we make it good for us? Work in our favor.
Okay. So first thing, I believe that we have to all accept that these shadows are negative. May we stop gaslighting the human experience. The human experience is negative. It has dark things in them. So we don't have to be like afraid of the shadows. We don't have to pretend they don't exist. We don't have to fear them. It is that fear that gives them so much power. Life is with light and it is with the dark, you know, and each time we try to just keep it on the love and the positive and light, that is gaslighting yourself. This is one of the deepest pain that our inner child are holding, because you spoke about the inner child. The inner child is the divine aspect of you, but really, actually, I think of the inner child as the guardian of your innocence. And the inner child is the one who went through all of that pain. If you've ever seen a kid and how they can just cry because someone took something that they like, you know, the inner child is so connected to themselves and in touch with that emotion that they do not deny their emotions. And then through socialization and programming, we are told that this is wrong to feel so deeply, you know, and then we go through these experiences as adults where we pretend we're not in pain. We're like, I'm cool. You know, no, you're not cool. You're not okay. And it's okay to not be okay. You know? So that's the first thing. We need to stop gaslighting ourselves. Like, this is one of the things my ancestors have taught me. Child, we've been through the most. Why are you pretending it's all love and light? It's not love and light. Look here, look at that, look at it. You know, so what is the question again?
How do we confront the shadows and make it work for us? And you said about something very profound, that, you know what, let's stop pretending as if things are not bad. Go bad. It's Michael Jackson bad.
No,
very
it's
bad.
So bad. Hey, it's so bad. Is it right now? It's so bad. Okay, so yes, that's the first step. The first step of healing is to accept that you are not okay, to accept that you have been through really painful experiences that created such deep separation without yourself, that created a fragmentation in which aspects of you that went through those experiences, you have actually abandoned them and neglected them. But we need to stop self-denial, but mostly we need to stop self-betrayal, betraying your own experiences, betraying your own pain, saying that it's not there when it is there. That's the first step. If you could do that, you are at the beginning of healing, because these shadows, they will not transform. The shadows are not here to stay shadows. You are not here to exist in your shadow frequencies. But if you deny that they exist, you will be in your shadow frequencies. And the thing about shadow frequencies is that they come up in ways that you will not realize as the shadows. Actually, they come up in what you call your life. The life you're going through right now, if you look at it, I can pinpoint to you what shadow is that. And we can even map where it originated. The first time, like for me, when I experienced control, right? We can map that. So we need to we call that retrieving the inner child, because while you as an adult, you're like, I'm cool, it's all about love and light, your inner child is out there saying, no, it's not, I am in pain. And a lot of people's inner children, there is something in the shamanic community which we call the cave of lost children. Why? Because a lot of people have neglected that inner children. They have literally locked them in a cave so deep within the self. And the thing is, only you can go get your own inner child. I can guide you to go get your inner child, right? So the process is, we must say, there is a lost child within me. And this lost child is lost because of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, whatever experiences you went through that fractured you so deeply that you don't even ever want to think about what happened to you. In that moment, I want to explain that in that moment, that pain was so deep for you, your soul literally left and lingered. And that aspect of you that saw all of that, that's your innocence, that's your divinity, that's the divine child. And this divine child is frozen in time. And every single one of us, we have to go back and retrieve our inner children. We have to mother our inner children. We cannot keep saying, my mother and my father did this to me. That's true. But our role, particularly as the healers, is to go and mother ourselves, because many of us here are actually so good at mothering other people, but not at mothering ourselves. You know?
That is so true. Because we spend so much time in Dumbeni or wherever you decide to practice, and you're like, ooh, you've got a problem, I've got a solution for that. And when it's time for you to actually have your own, to heal your own self, you're like, why can't I come up with these amazing things for myself? And it now makes sense, is that I call it a shelf. I didn't know that it's actually a cave. Thank you for the enlightenment. I used to think that, no, I will put it on a shelf and I'll deal with it later. And the later never comes. And you constantly put things up in a shelf, and you never deal with that. And for me, at which point do we, because it sounds so such a lot to have to, there's so many things that we've put in our mini shelves. Like, where do we start? Because it can seem so overwhelming for somebody else. Like, okay, how do I now retrieve my inner child? And how do I deal with all these things that I've put in a shelf?
Okay, so the first thing we need to understand is we don't have to go into the deep cave yet today, okay? Give yourself time to be strong. Let's start with today. And today we ask our question, what is a pattern in my life that is repeating? It's happening over and over again. And no matter what I do, I keep finding myself in this kind of situation. This pattern may be, you keep attracting the same kind of lovers, you keep you're like, oh, why am I dating this person? It's the same person. Or you constantly have the same kind of friendships. You constantly struggle with your purpose or with your career, and it's always the same thing. Or forget the things happening to you. Let's talk about your own things you're struggling with, right? So I can give you an example with me. My current struggle pattern, that has been my lifelong struggle, is with food. I can't just seem to manage my food, my relationship with my food, because I'm up in there watching Netflix and eating the knickknacks. And I'm like, why can't I stop? Why can't I just watch Netflix without the knickknacks, right? And this is a work that has been important to me recently. I didn't try to heal this at the beginning, because this program of my relationship with my food is something that actually started from my mother's womb. It's such a deep deep wound that it's taken me this long to heal, right? Today, I was thinking about something I actually really healed. And that was my relationship. That's my relationship with money. When I started my journey, I started with something that I could handle. That wasn't too overwhelming. And it was like, let's deal with my money situation, okay? And I've worked with 2 different money healers to help me with my money situation. Obviously, it was not about the money, my pattern with money, which is that I always gave people my money. I never know where my money went. It was still about my control and my lack of self-care and always wanting to save everyone, right? So start with something you can process and it's not overwhelming, right? All those deep, deep, deep aspects of you that you have fragmented, the truth is today you will not be able to pick them because they're so overwhelming, so fracturing to your being that you don't even want to look at them. So there's no need to go hurry. Didn't I say the whole purpose of our life is to retrieve these aspects of ourselves? So you've got all of your life. So don't worry about the deep, dark things in the caves. Let's start with what you can start with today. What is the one thing, you know, I can deal with it. I think I can address it. Start there, you know, and you can, there's a process I do every morning, right? If let's do it right now. It's a very short process.
Okay.
Put the hand in the heart, right hand in the heart, left one in the womb area, sacral center. Even you, if you're a gentleman, you can do that. And let's just close our eyes and take a deep breath in and out. Again, in and out. And I want you to pull just something not too big that you're struggling with today. And I want you to take that thing and in your mind, travel back in time to the first time you experienced something similar to that. The same pain, it has happened to you before. Let's go back in time to the memory you remember where you first experienced that. That is your inner child. The first one to ever experience the pain is your inner child. And I want you to imagine that inner child. And I want you to embrace that inner child, hold them. And using your own name, typically the inner child has a name, but let's use our name. I want you to say to your inner child, I am sorry.
I am sorry.
Please forgive me.
Please forgive me.
I love you.
I love you.
And I thank you.
And I thank you.
I am sorry, Joy.
I am sorry, Nelly.
Please forgive me.
Please forgive me.
I love you.
I love you.
And I thank you.
And I thank you.
One last time. I am sorry, Joy.
I am sorry, Nelly.
Please forgive me.
Please forgive me.
I love you.
I love you.
And I thank you.
And I thank you.
And just allow your inner child to come into your heart, to become one with your heart. Take a deep breath in and out. And we are done.
Wow. That was intense. It was intense.
Yeah, sorry. I felt called to do a real practice. Yeah, what happened for you? Let's use you as someone to share how this experience was for you.
Like you, I think I've always had like money issues, you know, in terms of being too generous with people. And for me, it wasn't a sense of wanting to be in like, it wasn't control, but it was the need for validation. I don't know if it makes sense. And that for me, that has always been my need, my biggest problem. Even because now when I traveled back now to a place where this money issue of just giving people my money, I started way back in childhood, where that was the only way to get acceptance from others. And at this point where I am, I don't need your validation and I don't need your acceptance. If you accept me, that's okay. But if you don't, it doesn't mean my life is a mess, you know? I'm still fine, you know? And this for me has been, and that's why I'm like, that was so intense, because my psychologist told me that I need to map out all the tickets. You say issues, I call them tickets, you know? All the tickets, you map them out in terms of the things that you need to solve. And then each day, you just pick the smallest ticket, the one that you can solve the quickest, you know? And for me, that has been my, but I've never traveled back. I've never thought about traveling back in terms of where did this issue manifest. However, what I know is that each day, pick a ticket, pick a problem to solve. And from there, start with the smallest one, the quickest one that you can solve. Does anybody else want to share their experience?
Yeah, as before people share, I just wanted to share that the reason why we travel back in time is, while you, Nelly, you're like, I don't need anyone's validation. That's adult Nelly. But the thing is, the person who's actually seeking validation is not you today. It's you a long time ago. And that you is not gone. And I want to explain to people that your inner child, you must look at your inner child the way you look at your ancestors, your angels, your guides. It is one of your guardians. They didn't go anywhere in the same way that the ancestors never went anywhere, in the same way that your soul monadic self never went anywhere, right? So we just connected with one of our guardians. It's that child. And that process was you parenting your child, saying the things that no one said to them in that moment. Did you see we didn't ask for forgiveness for everyone? We can do that, but today it was important for you to forgive yourself in that moment, and also forgive yourself for having forgotten your inner child. Yeah. Okay. Yes.
Wow, so profound. Who wants to share what they retrieved? Which part, which space did you go through? Any volunteers? I know it's a bit intense. Please raise your hand if you want to share. Mkhulumens, Xaba, we've got Shezi on here, and we also have Nonhlanhla, we have Nomvula. Does anybody want to share? It was that intense.
I'm so sorry, everyone. I didn't know that we do that, you know, but I just wanted, because people are like, how do you do it? That's how you do it. Yeah. But there's some comments in the chat.
I think you can check the comments in the chat first. Let me see any of
that it was intense.
Yeah, Akwana says that was unexpectedly emotional. I would like to say the same thing. To say that even before Ujoy took us through this very quick but very intense exercise of forgiving your inner child, she mentioned something about the child having a name. Maybe later, if you can touch on that. You were speaking to Menzi, but is there a different identity or a different way that you can identify the child? Because you mentioned that she has a name. But anyway, all I'm saying is that before you even mentioned that, I had already started going through my own, searching myself, where in my early childhood had I started suppressing my true self. So everything that you were telling us step by step, it sent me on an inner journey, looking at my childhood self and looking at my parents also, the shadows of my own father and my mother. How much of their stuff am I carrying, and how do I let go without involving them? Or how do I involve them in this work?
Beautiful. Yes. Yes. The child, just like, you know, how your ancestors, they come and they tell you their name, your inner child, as I mentioned, your inner child at that core, without all those shadows, is your divine, you know, aspect. And so what I found, I do this process, it's quite long when you're doing it with me one-on-one, and we will ask the child for the name. So for example, my inner child is called Twinkle, right? And she gave this name to me. I didn't give it to her. And she explained she is Twinkle because she is a little star. And through all the experiences that she went through, I deemed all of that, you know. So at her core, she is this little star, and that's all she wants to be. But I keep controlling it, and not today, we're not being a little star today, you know. So your inner child it's so beautiful. It's one of the most profound experiences I do in my quantum inner child healing, when we ask the child and they explain why that's their name. So you can also do it with yourself as you continue to do this. Just this process, you can continue it by, you know, journeying with your inner child, getting to know them and asking them for that name. They will give it to you.
I think it answers on Menzi's question. I think, was it who raised their hand first? Let's start with
Nelisiwe.
Okay, let's start with
we can do that.
With Akona.
Is it Akona?
You can speak.
Yes. Oh, wait. Yes, it's Akona. And Akona, can did you want to say something? Did you want to add something?
I think for me it was so unexpectedly emotional. I really didn't expect that, Joy. The memory, I think the issue I picked was I usually struggle with connection, you know, particularly in intimate relationships, maintaining that connection. So immediately once I closed my eyes and I thought back to where this might come from or which part of me was so traumatized, it was actually a day I was out with my mother and we went to the fields because I was raised in the rural area. So we'd go to the fields, she'd take me with her and I was a baby. And I remember she put me down to work and for some reason, I lost sight of her and I started panicking. So it's awakened, I think for me, the wound of separation. So that was unexpected for me to go there immediately. Yeah, no. So I guess that's an area where I need to constantly work on. And I was amazed by the memory, how it became so vivid and the emotions that came with it.
Beautiful, Akona. Thank you for sharing. Yes, definitely. I think that people think it's a very complicated process. It's really not. I mean, of course, you can get a guide to show you how to do it. This is why I call this process self-sourcing. So you are the source of your healing. You go into your inner landscapes to retrieve more information about these shadows. You know, yes, Joy can come and tell you, oh, that's the shadow of abandonment, but you can also do it. And it's so this guide, this inner child guardian is present all the time, with you all the time. When people say, I'm triggered right now, who do you think is triggered? It's not your adult self, it's your inner child. It's like someone went to that wound and just pressed hard where the wound is, but who is the one who's holding the wound? Is the inner child. So we can access this memory so instantly, just like that. Yes. Okay. Thank you, Akona.
Xaba, I think Xaba also wanted to add something, say something. Xaba.
Greetings, beloveds. Your Joy, you are healing me in such a deep way. Like, I've been listening and I've been taking notes, and the exercise for me was really powerful, because initially I wasn't even going to do it, and then I was like, no, let me actually go with the process. And it was also for me, like what Akwana also said, it was very interesting how quickly I was able to access the memory of I was very ill when I was in grade 11. And just that, I remember like sitting on the couch very ill with my dad. And and it just made me realize it was that perfection. It was grade 11. I was under a lot of stress. I wanted to do well with my studies so that matric can be easy and I can get into varsity. There was just so much pressure that I had put on myself to be perfect, to be all of these things. And I just instantly was able to connect with all of that pressure that I've put on myself and that I've continued to put on myself. So for me, it was, and I just started crying. And I was just like, oh gosh. Just that release of releasing all of that has just been so heavy on me. Like, I don't have to be perfect. I don't have to have the answers. I don't have to be fully healed. I don't have, whew. So yes, that was my experience.
Yes. Yes, just wanted to tell people, if you become fully healed, you will actually have to die, because what else would you be doing here? So life is really to heal all of these, but also enjoy and activate our gifts and bring to the world the divine gifts. So it's okay to be happy and still be hurting. It's okay to still be healing. It's okay to accept that the healing process is the life process. We're not trying to complete something today, Kulu mentioned that the 64 shadows sounds so heavy, but remember, the 64 shadows are the shadows of hundreds and hundreds, actually millions of years, that are existing in your DNA, right? So you're doing your part today. Your life is to do your part for the human race, right? So yeah, healing is not a race which we are trying to complete. But thank you so much also for sharing, Nelisiwe. I am very happy to support you with your healing.
Gama Gogo, you know what you just said? It reminded me of what Ubaba Ovusama Zulu, many know him as Credo Mutwa, said, that you are constantly working on yourself, and if you stop, it means you're dead. If you don't have any issues, it means you're dead. So it's ever in that process of working yourself and just healing yourself. Can you please mute if you're not speaking? It's a bit distracting sometimes. Menzi, can you please read out the comments for us? Because I know it was very lit on the comment section.
Well, can you hear?
We can't hear you. Can you please unmute? Sorry.
Oh, I thought I was audible.
Okay.
Anyway, Unambula was saying, well, in continually, Unambula Tlatsi, who says, well, in continually healing the inner child, I have discovered it is okay to be happy while still hurting, and healing one of the major guides in my healing journey has helped to shift so many shadows I was hosting in me. That issue of hosting, maybe can Joy touch a bit on it? Hosting, but I think you already kind of touched on it when you say you are carrying memories of so many. but maybe from your side. Unambula is saying, I realize that I've been hosting so many. I'm healing those that I've been hosting in me. For me, let me just say as a side thing, it sounds, like from the fundamentalist Christian perspective, there's always this fear that when you open up yourself to spiritual healing or spiritual outside of the church or outside of the book, you are actually opening up yourself to host dark spirits that are not even supposed to be yours with you. Is there anything like that you can touch on, maybe from our level? Don't know if I'm sidetracking too much.
No, it's okay. There are many theories to that, but what I want to talk about is the theory of egregores. This is Nombula, this is the word I wanted to say last week. Egregores. Okay. So when people go through a pain, a collective trauma, as we are going through a collective trauma right now with COVID and all the losses we're going through, when that pain is so big that we're unable to feel it, that pain will literally hover around our energy fields, which is our spiritual fields, not what we see. And this energy, the more it's hovering upside and the more we are not processing it, this energy can, and the more we're not processing it, and the more we are also existing in the same pain. So we are depressed. The more we're depressed, that energy begins to become almost a living thing separate from you. And that living thing is what we call an egregore. An example of an egregore is, for example, have you ever went back to your home village and when you enter the house feels a certain way, like you can feel the pain in the air, right? Has anyone ever experienced that? Like, it's like you've just returned back in time, you're like, what's happening? It's heavy. Or you can go to someone's house where they were fighting and you can just feel something is off. And what is that? That is the frequency of the unfelt and unprocessed pain that the people in the home are refusing to address. So when we go on our journeys of healing, we are actually addressing these egregores in our fields. These egregores, depending on how you look at them, they can look like real living dark entities. This is not talking about existing things, but like essentially the field will be so dark because it's a compound of your pain that you haven't processed for such a long time. So when people say that we are opening yourself up to demons, it's you are opening yourself up to your own demons, your own egregores, the things you haven't actually really dealt with, and the things that your family hasn't dealt with, that your ancestry has not dealt with. So that's I guess where the word hosting will be coming from. But altogether, as genetic path cutters, people who are called to heal and heal themselves, in our own DNA, the DNA strands that we have, they are holding these pain bodies from our ancestors. And you were born with a filtration system. If you are a genetic path cutter, if you are Unganabadimu, you have a filtration system. That is why you are highly sensitive. That's why you couldn't ignore the egregores of your families. You felt them. Why? Because your duty is to filter them out, to heal them out. And the reason why a lot of healers, for example, may go through very painful experiences, very dark, dense experiences, particularly around violence, it's because we have to filter out the biggest egregores of the human race, the biggest shadows. So you, instead of us reading about them, you experience them, you are initiated into these shadows, so you filter them out, because your frequency when you were born had the capacity to cleanse that pain, right? So it can be looked like definitely something not to do, but it's actually what you came here to do. It's part of your mission, right? And so if we look at the experiences we went through as the things we are here to filter out of the human genome, DNA, we're here to heal them, to release them. You know, we can see the gift and the grace in our life experiences and the painful experiences that we've had. Yeah.
That is so profound. That is so profound what you just said. It kind of reminded me that we agreed to the code long before we were even born. And when we get to Earth, sometimes we get lost in translation in terms of what we need to do. And if you are going through, I call it umgo, when you're going through the most, you know, and you think that it's actually tearing you apart. But in the words of Coco Dineo, she says that sometimes things just need to fall apart just for them to fall into place, you know, and you cannot, you know, you cannot say, why me? Why shouldn't it be you? Why should it be somebody else, you know? And you going through that because your code, that was your mission. That was the mission code. That's what you agreed to. What I wanted to ask, because you touched on this a bit briefly a bit earlier, you said sometimes we inherit shadows from our own ancestral lineage. I've read about a constellation in terms of healing your lineage. How do in terms of everyday living, how do you then now go back and say, okay, ekhaya, we used to have, like, we constantly have this, it's a pattern, or at home, at home we do this. How do you then now go back and heal that lineage pathology? Or I don't want to, I'm not sure if pathology is even the correct term to use.
That's miasma. It's called miasma. Yeah. Ancestral miasma. It is not that sometimes we inherit our ancestral pain. It is that all the time we inherit our ancestral pain. Not sometimes. Every single one of us, we are holding the pains of our ancestors, genetic path cutter or not, right? An example of an ancestral miasma, I like to reference to myself because it's easy to then map it for yourself. So one of the miasmas that my lineage, particularly from my mother's side, that I recognized was the miasma of separation between the divine unions. So this looked like the women in my mother's bloodline were not marrying. They were not married, not getting married, getting divorced so quickly. It was shocking, like 2 months divorces, or just not coming to the wedding when they're supposed to get married. It was very late. And my healer, when he met me, I was 26 years old, and he said, "Why are you not married?" And I said, "Well, I'm young. What are you talking about?" And he's like, "No, but why are you not married?" And then it just stayed with me, because my sister also went and he asked her the same thing. And then I realized it's not so much that why we're not married, is that my miasma has created such a defense mechanism for me and my sister that we don't think about marriage. We don't want marriage. And then I started this process of connecting with the ancestors, the divine grandmothers, to find us why the daughters are not getting married. Turns out actually the answer was with the grandfather, because one of my grandfathers a long time ago, he was a priest, and so he was counseling couples, and because of his work, he was experiencing a lot. He was seeing a lot of women who were in abusive relationships. And apparently he's been heard so many times that no daughter of mine will get married if this is what marriage is. And this vow, it's a vow he made. This vow has traveled through the generation where his daughters do not get married because they are in a vow of loyalty to their ancestor, their grandfather. That's why if there's any chance of like abuse, my women, they leave, they don't even stay, you know? So this, like why I'm not married today, it's not because it's just a choice or I haven't found the man. It's because I have a vow to my grandfather that marriage is either completely like this harmonious, beautiful, divine union or nothing, right? So first you have to go retrieve the vows of your ancestors. What did your ancestors say to you, to your mother, to your grandmothers over and over again, that the children started to believe that is a life, that is how they're supposed to live their life? Because the women in my family, they have believed for such a long time that they are either in a very beautiful divine union or nothing. That's how it works. It's that powerful. It's that profound. So why are you connecting with your ancestors? A lot of people are connecting with their ancestors without knowing why. It's so that you can ask them, what are the vows you made that I am living through right now, that I am honoring when they're actually limiting me? Because those ancestors, they don't want you to be in pain. My ancestors, when he made that vow, this is MOGAMI, this is the person with the saying. When MOGAMI made that vow, he didn't know that it will ripple out throughout time, because this is an ancestor from like 5 generations behind me, but I'm up here still keeping up the vow. Do you know? So I have to go to him and I say, you have to undo that vow, grandfather. Like, look at me, I'm not getting married and I'm not even trying because I'm keeping your vow. Do you see all these women that are lonely because you said the vow? Let's change it. And grandfather can be like, oh, I did not know it will ripple out to that level. This is why even today we talk about the words you say are important. The things you say to your children, they listen to that and they're gonna agree with you and they will make a vow. If you tell your child you are not smart, just watch your child starting to act like they're not smart when they are smart, because of the vow of loyalty. You are their parent, you are their guardian, so they will keep that vow. Mom said I'm not smart, okay, I'm not smart. That's how it works.
That is so good. And Mkulu Menzi just added something on the comments, and he said hekau, you know, our words, hekau is from Medinate, if I'm not mistaken, Mkulu, and it means the words are magic, you know, the things, and we often just speak randomly, and we actually don't realize that the things that come out of your mouth are manifestations, and your words are magic. That therefore you need to be very cautious with how you decide to use your tongue. And I think it goes back to the pledge that we do at the beginning of each and every session, to make sure that we treat each other with respect and we treat each other with the utmost honor, you know, and we don't deviate, and like we are there within the space and we invite our ancestors. That is so profound. And D. Mohammed says the healer said, my ancestors say that they have given me all I need to survive. And she also said a bit earlier on that I think she said, is it her, that her ancestors said that they don't want her to get married. They have given her everything that she needs to survive. But is it really, does it not go back to purposeful living? In terms of understanding your own code as well.
Yeah. So a lot of, like, the whole ancestor relationship that we have there is a lot of distortions to it, because a lot of people do not know why they're connecting with their ancestors. It is not that you connect with them so that they become the authority of your life. You are connecting with them so that they can help you understand the pain that is existing in your life and the entire lineage, and they can help you heal, right? But the thing is, there are ancestors who are healed, who have transcended that their own experiences and their perception of life, and that those who still believe in that way and the way that they saw life. So if an ancestor comes, and I do not 100% believe that your true ancestor does not want you to experience a divine union, because when we were created by our creator, we were created in pairs. We were created as the feminine and the masculine. And that is the part of the Holy Trinity. It is the feminine and the masculine and the child. So it's the divine logo is to be in union. What has happened to our community, what is happening right now, that we are not married, a lot of us, we are in family that have broken, that is the deepest pain of our ancestors. The true ancestors, they see this, they are heartbroken, right? So if an ancestor tells you you don't need marriage, you ask them, no, like you have the right to say no. My ancestor used to heal with milk, and I don't drink like milk, regular milk, I just drink almond milk. And he was like, Joy, you can't, I heal with milk also. He's like, you can't heal with milk without drinking it. And I said, but I can, I used to drink it, I know how it tastes, it's okay, right? You can say no to your ancestors, right? Because you are not here to create and repeat that pain bodies and the limitations. You are here to transcend them. You may have inherited their limitations, but you are here to transcend them. Why else would you be here? Then it will be pointless to be here. You are here to create a new map for your people, for your lineage, for your DNA, for your blood. You don't create it by upkeeping the vows of your ancestors. Me, I'm gonna get married, y'all. I will invite you because I'm gonna break this vow. Someone has to get married. Do you know what I mean? So, D, please go.
There's a line, when you say that, there's a line that I usually say that how the things that I'm working on, I think it was my ancestors' wildest imagination, you know, like they thought it was not possible, and then yellow. I am, and when you say that you have to break that path, you know, sometimes, and say no, you know, they don't hold you to ransom. And that's why I'm like, I am my ancestors' wildest imagination. Anything that they thought is not possible,
it's not necessary.
Not necessarily, like, look at me.
Yes, actually, I want to say this about the ancestors who might tell us it's okay. If you just keep that, you are actually not also helping heal them, liberate them in that station of identity, because it's real when we say the ancestors, they don't die, they continue in that path. We are all on a journey back home, right? So they are currently in a different dimension, but they are still on a journey. So if you keep these pain bodies and you're like, okay, I will just survive, they are not getting liberated as well. You know, for me, I like going to hotels and people ask me, why do you like doing that? Because the grandmothers in me dance every time I do that. They're like, we've never done something like this. This is so crazy. It's so unnecessary, but you're doing it. And they heal because of luxury. They heal because of whatever it is that I choose to do with my life. Whenever I'm following my passion, my purpose, all the grandmothers who never got the opportunity to follow that purpose, their heart warms up just a little bit. You know what I mean? So no, the grandmothers, they don't know it, but when you are happy, they will become happy. So please go get married, D. Let's go get that man.
I think we need to have another session about preservation of the divine family and the divine union, because a lot of things have happened, and as unpacking it now with just so few minutes left, it will be an injustice. And I almost feel like we need to like unpack the divine union and the divine family unit as to why we're experiencing so many of these issues, particularly in the Black community. I don't see it manifesting that much in other communities, but I see it a lot in the Black communities, and there is actually an explanation as to why so many of us are not getting married. It's historic, and we also need to go back and heal our own ancestors. With that being said, this is me low-key asking Joy that she needs to come back. This is me low-key telling Joy that she needs to come back to unpack the divine union and the divine family. Yeah. Where do people find you?
So today I was talking about a lot of ancestral miasma healing, and I do have a free program, an online free program that I'm running July 20th until July 22nd. So if you're here, I highly invite you to this program, because we will unpack more deeply about our ancestors and why we are here to heal our ancestral DNA and to heal with our ancestors, to heal our ancestors, to heal our ancestral lineages, so that we can pave a new pathway for our families and for the entire collective human race, right? So yes, everyone is, oh my God, we're gonna have an amazing wedding, y'all. Please pray for me and my husband. He's coming, he's yet to arrive, but please pray, because I'm up here wanting to break this vow, and it's a very serious mission, hey? But yes, thank you. I'm not here to cry. I told them, if I do not get this husband, I'm not even doing this job. I'm that serious. I'm kidding. I will do the job anyways. Yeah, so joymogami.com is my website. You'll be able to see this program I'm talking about, and also my once-off sessions. You know, if you want to go deep into ancestral healing or inner child healing or your soul retrieval work, or you want to understand more of your higher mission, I have different offerings there. I have group offerings. You can also work with me for a longer period, just in alignment with what you are ready for. So go check out joymogami.com. I have a YouTube channel, Facebook, Instagram, where I do a lot of teachings, which you can also go check. It's just search for Joy Mogami and you should be able to find me.
I actually realized that the poster that we published, I think we may have spelt your surname wrong. So it's Mogami is M-O-G-A-M-I, not M-E, M-I rather. Joy Mogami. Thank you so much, beloved. With that being said, we shall convene again in the near future and do the Almighty's work. Thank you to everybody that has joined. Appreciate you for sharing this, like holding the space with us. Love and light, beloveds.